Good morning and welcome to the Capitalgang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and as Moses would say, Moses of a morning show would say, with a bevy of topics. Moses is still in the studio. Yes, hello Moses. I have one of my favorite professors, Professor Ndebesa Mwambusia. He has allowed me to say that name any way I want. Go to the microphone, Prof.
Good morning to you, good morning to the listeners, and good morning to the panelists here. I am glad to be here to share with you issues of national significance and importance and see whether we can find a way through.
Right. I also have one of my favorite NRM people, Duncan Abigaba, is in the studio, the man with a signature laugh. You're most welcome to the Capitalgang.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu Oscar. I'm happy to be here on a very important day when the NRM Delegates Conference officially starts.
Yes.
He's trying to bribe us with the national colors.
Today is a very big day. We are having our quarterfinals game against Senegal, and we have to rally behind the boys. So yes. that's why I'm in the colors.
One of the reasons I invited you to come to Gang, because I'd known already they'd thrown you out of that competition. So you have no business going to Kololo for the delegates and so on. So this was probably a better place for you to be.
And he has no business being politically correct.
No, he has. That one you cannot accuse him of being politically correct. It is not an accusation against him. But I was just thinking, having been stopped from standing, but I've seen there's a long list against Chris Baryomunsi. So why was it you that was stopped and others have not been stopped?
Mwalimu was here some time back and I explained that I had withdrawn from the race even before I was stopped, for various reasons, one of them being the monetization of the NRM internal politics. I have sat in meetings recently, leading up to the delegates conference, where delegates are being offered as high as 1 million shillings. And we are talking about a race with 20,000 delegates. So if somebody can afford to buy a vote at 1 million, and they have 20,000 voters. So I realized that I was in the wrong race. I pulled out. Some of my colleagues who continue have been asked to step down. Yes, the race against Dr. Baryomunsi still has quite a number of people. I think there are 8 or 9. But previously, they were around 13. So around 3-4 people have been asked to step down. But I stepped down because of the monetization of our politics, which is so crude. I also mentioned here that I think I preferred to still work with Dr. Baryomunsi, because the president indicated that he had confidence in him as a hard worker and somebody who was doing well communicating for the party. Yeah.
Well, for you, it's monetization. For Joseph Otieno, it is court. It is legalese in elections. But welcome to Gang, Joseph Otieno. I noticed your brother, Jimmy Akena, has gone ahead to stand as president. So UPC is going to field 2 presidents?
No, UPC will field a president. But I'm glad that Jimmy, after serving 2 terms, albeit illegally, has now opted to pick up nomination forms. He picked up nomination forms actually hours after I'd picked them. But that there can be a Jimmy and someone else interested after I picked up the nomination forms, then it's enough to be fair to him. 3 people picked nomination forms. How we sort of that
for UPC.
For UPC. I hope that is resolved fairly swiftly. But it shows that UPC members are saying that they can no longer sit in the sidelines and watch NRA break down our nation state using millions of shillings where we don't know where it's coming from. So I'm delighted that we are where we are, but it's sad that we've got to have a signature of court before us. I hope it's a matter that is expedited, one, in court, and two, that common sense prevails amongst us as UPC leaders so that we're able to resolve the common thing called leadership and then address the differences, one, ideologically, but also two, issues of relationships, including money and dubious night deals, which Duncan is talking about. But unfortunately, Duncan, once we sort out the UPC issue, I think the party home is here rather than the party of monetization.
Right. And then we have also a dissenting politician, Honorable Semuju, wearing a PFF hat.
He's very smart, actually.
He's very smart. It's good morning, Honorable Semuju. Is a shirt PFF as well?
I am the Secretary General of PFF. I am not dissenting.
No, you are dissenting. Dissenting from FDC.
No, but I left
FDCA, FDCB.
I left FDC long ago.
Long ago?
Together with others, we formed a political party called the People's Front for Freedom. I was in Cavalry yesterday, opening sub-regional office, inaugurating the party and swearing in regional leaders, because we've constructed our party at the original states of Uganda. So each sub-region will have a governor, will have an assembly, and a cabinet. So I was in Cavalry together with Dr. Rumebaiga to perform that activity. So please, I am not dissenting. I am a leader of a political party called PFF, and there is no member of PFF who is in court or who is being asked to step aside.
That's a nice one. all PFF candidates are allowed to stand.
Because I was not military, only in the military.
Like who?
At least in Ocheno's party, they can disagree and seek legal redress. But there is one party that is run like a barracks. You pick nomination papers and they tell you who told you. The most interesting one is his brother. He said, he didn't even consult me. So I sympathize with our colleagues here. He was plunging himself into things he doesn't know. I wish he had asked me.
I think one of the reasons PFF there is no contestation, people are not being asked to step down or going to court, is because the membership is still so down. So the competition is very low. For example, I think in some places like my constituency, Igara East in Ushenyi, you might struggle to get a flag bearer.
That is an insult. You mean we don't have family members? Museveni's brother was contesting against Museveni. You mean I don't have a brother who can contest against me? That we don't have membership, please. In your party, brother can contest against a brother. At least I have followers.
You were saying, Duncan Avigawa? Yes, the issue with PFF and what Honorable Semuji is talking about, that there is no as much contestation, including people going to court or others being asked to step down out of certain races, is because PFF is still finding its footing. It has just come out of the woods. It has not even clearly defined its ideology, direction. Yeah. It has no leadership.
Honorable Semuju holds about 4 positions.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It has no leadership. He holds around 4 positions.
Right.
So as we go into this election, I don't think many people are going to fight for.
Thank God you were a teacher, because you will be a very bad student.
Tickets.
I told you what are offices in other parties. In our party, they are functions. You see, Museveni has advisors, including one on Chige's diocese. So I see Oscar now asking,
and one on Kampala.
I see Oscar asking the next president that you have appointed one advisor to do many functions. You see, what you think are offices in other parties, in our party, they are functions. Assign some names to one person, some names are assigned to more than one person. So they are not offices. Are they constitutional?
Yeah.
Have you read our constitution?
Not yet.
Please read.
I will. Yeah. Do you have a presidential candidate?
We are in a process of nominating candidates from president to LOC1. The first stage was for the candidates to pick expression of interest, and then where more than one people have shown interest, we will organize internal processes. That's why we said we will begin by people picking forms. Where we don't have, and there are many places where people have not picked forms, then we will go and begin hunting down. If NRM throws out Ofonopono, then I go and hunt him down and give him a ticket to go and
to PFF.
Yes. So we are in that process.
Is the top position also ring fenced like Duncan's?
No, ours really. We have contested even when we
there's still a chance for me to come and be party leader.
We are closing
presidential candidate.
We are closing a picking of forms next week. So make sure that by Friday you are at Katonga.
Right, to pick up my presidential.
Yeah, and where we don't have a candidate, the party now has a responsibility to go in the field and
look for a candidate.
But Honorable Semuji should not escape this question. Is going around in circles. The issue of leadership of PFF. Who is the leader of PFF?
Yeah,
it seems also the position has been ring-fenced.
If Ofonopono doesn't know.
I think Honorable Semuji is the Secretary General or something.
The Secretary General, yes.
They have filled other positions, but they have not filled the position of the party leader.
All the positions are filled. The Lord Mayor is the leader of that party. Is actually the chairman. So I don't know, but I think your obsession is with Dr. Vesige, who chairs a committee of eminent persons. Vesige is not a leader in PFF, he's just the chair of a committee of eminent persons. But the leader of PFF is Lukwago.
Right.
So I hope you...
Ofonopono is in the studio. We have talked about you a little while ago. I was surprised that your late and some of you said you are no longer a civil servant. You are now a politician, and politicians come late. No, that is what Semuji said.
Apologies to you, the moderator, and my colleagues, the listeners.
Apology not accepted.
Accepted. It is so rare for all not to be.
And to our listeners, it is true, I'm never late. It is rare for me. But there's something is happening in town.
Yeah.
For the last 1 week, the road to Jinja is a hell. You take no less than...
So is the road to Masaka?
You take no less than 3 hours between Mukono and here. Last night, I left at 7, I reached home at midnight. Yeah. But I'm now here.
Yeah. And in the brightest of yellow shirts.
Yes, and you said you talked about
Oscar,
me.
I was in Kavale. Between Chengera and Kampala, it took me 3 hours. A journey of less than 5 kilometers.
Yeah, I think there's some construction, but also there are heavy trucks. Yeah. I think the construction going on around the country, and the industry is coming up. I think this is what I think. Because of
so it is positive.
No, if you see the huge trucks, trailers, I think they are goods, vehicles carrying probably construction material or something like that. Yeah. Yes, there's ongoing construction.
You know those things used to pass via Nagongera near me and you. You know, on a train, it would be sorted.
Well, you know, electricity came to Nagongera in 1956, and your home is a kilometer away. You never had electricity until NRM came in.
Yeah, we did have electricity when NRM was still in the bush, my brother.
Honorable is still feisty. They talk about roads. Honorable Semuju, I should say. Last week, I also came in a bit late because there's an accident. But Old Kira Road has been graded now. It's a lot easier to pass there. So congrats. I mean, people had complained that I'm not talking about the road.
The development.
The development of grading.
So talk about Chico Road.
Chico Road is fine, but Old Chira Road has been a mess. So now I'm only left with
Oscar,
National Water.
Nagongera Road.
Oscar, don't mislead people who are listening.
Yes.
The road you're talking about used to be a paved road.
Tarmacked.
It used to be. Now they have removed the bitumen. Is that how they call it? It
was in a terrible state.
It is now Taka, Rio soil, like
yeah.
in the middle, 1 kilometer from the city center.
And you know it ends with
Dust.
traffic lights. And
you know,
at the end of the road, there's traffic lights.
PF has been the Lord Mayor of Kampala City, supposed to fix the road for the last 15 years.
Under the new law, Museveni took over Kampala. If we didn't
Actually,
know,
was instructed to leave. It should be ceremonial.
Are you saying
Yeah,
it is the Bianswa mayor?
Museveni
That's
said
what he
he's-
was directed. So let's come back to you,
He's
Professor.
a Gauni mayor.
Professor
So he
Mwamusia.
took over.
This week we've had a chat, and I think you can see you've had a big concern about breakdown in society, especially starting with the NRM party. But there's good news in their statement, Central Executive Committee resolution. There's a resolution in there, number 7A, that a team of eminent NRM members will be selected to move around the country to reconcile members. Abigaba here needs to be reconciled. Ofanopondo is still on track, so he may not need to be reconciled. I saw such Kuba needs to be reconciled. So are you pleased that this is now being recognized by the NRM party that there's a reconciliation required?
Thank you for that question. As an observer of politics and society in Uganda, I am very concerned that we are having a failed society. Some people may say that we don't have a failed state, which is true, but a failed nation and a failed society is different from a failed state. You could have a state that is effectively in control, but when society is failing. I could give you examples outside Uganda so that we can compare with our situation. When there was apartheid South African regime in South Africa, the state machinery was in control, but there was a failed society. The Coloureds, the Africans, the Bantustans, the whites, and what have you. So was Gaddafi's Libya. Gaddafi's Libya, when Gaddafi was still around before NATO came in, there was a state machinery in charge, but there was a failed society and a nation, because the Benghazi people and the Tripoli people were not seeing eye to eye. You could talk about the question of Iraq and the rest. So what is happening in Uganda today, or since independence almost, is that we don't have a cohesive society. We don't have a nation, if you want, because even if you went outside the political class, the political arena, and you went to administration, almost every community in Uganda is demanding for an autonomous district. These colleagues are from Tororo. They know what is going on since the eating of the rat. There is incessant demand for district. There is incessant demand for autonomy. Each community doesn't want to stay with another community in the same district. If you go to the Anglican Church especially, each community is demanding for a separate diocese. Each community doesn't want to be in the same diocese with another community. If you go to cultural institutions, every community is demanding to have their own traditional institution and leader. Even those which were united, like Buganda, you have now the Baruri, the Bamori, the Basese, the Banyara, the Bakochi, But if you go to Kasese, you'll find there is the Bakonzo, then there are the Basongora, there are the Bagabo, there are the Banyabindi, there are I don't know what. That at that level. Now look at the politics now. All political parties are in disarray. NRM inclusive. There is no consensus. Each one wants to tear apart. There is no civility. They are fighting each other. They are in courts of law. They are in tribunals. They are wherever. So this is an indicator of a failing society. Not a failed state as yet, but a failing society can transform into a failed state. So this is a manifestation, a reflection of a society of people who are not willing to live with each other. Why is that so? There are very many reasons. Some are historical legacies. Some are the nature of our society, multinational, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. But also, what I want to comment on, which is relevant to our show today, is a question of inequality. Unequal treatment of citizens and organizations. There is what we can call selective application of law and selective application of justice. And this leads to anger whoever is marginalized or discriminated. I will give you the example of the recent Kawempe elections, the by-election. There is this Honorable Narukora. He was nominated on a Thursday, I think, and the Electoral Commission had given instructions and regulations that nobody should hold a political rally and a procession until they had met and given them the timetable. And Narukora broke that law and tried to hold the rally at Kawempe Mosque. And he was in kind of a procession of only a few borders. And he was crowbarred. He was arrested. He was beaten. The following day, on a Friday, a certain Nambi Chigongo had a procession on that road. I passed through that road. He had even a wheelroader. He crossed the road. He was escorted. She was escorted. She went to the same venue of Kawempe Mosque where Narukora was going the previous day and held the rally under the security protection of the security of Uganda. That is selective application of law and selective application of justice, which leads to anger. You go to the NRM elections now. There are people who are escorted by the soldiers. I am happy in Rujankori we have a saying that a rat overstayed or stayed longer enough
You
to
can
eat.
say it in Runyakore.
Eh?
Say it in Runyakore.
Obuhangazi bwembe babukarisembe ba aha mu gutagwa kapa.
Yes.
It ended up eating the skin of the cat. I have lived enough to see people who were presiding over injustices. Among them, I don't miss words, I mentioned, there is Esther Mbayo, who was presiding over the RDCs. And the RDCs were beating these FDCs and whatever. And she was not concerned. This time, they beat her. They disorganized her. They disrupted her. She's now quarreling. The Minister of Internal Security, the former Minister of Internal Security of Biga Kanya, he was presiding over police that was harassing these FDCs and the rest. Today, he is quarreling that Taban Amin is harassed him during elections. You know, that is selective application of justice.
There's a police officer as well.
I saw General who? No, there is Ndunguse, but there is this general from
Kochi.
Yes.
Kayanja.
I saw him Alajana. Kayanja was Alajana Lingi. you know?
Against drones.
Because Chinyabatama had bigger forces. And so on and so on. I hope Ofonopondo is not going to Kurajana also. What am I saying?
He Kurajana a little bit.
There is a selective application of the law. You take the case of these guards of NUP. Who is this one who was told to Nyankore?
Hey.
Edi Mutwe. The Edi Mutwe group, I'm told they were they harassed the journalists, and they are now under arrest, not even given bail and things like that. But you remember during the Kawempe elections, the journalists were not only harassed and their katochis taken away, they were beaten to the extent that some almost lost their eyes.
It was extraordinary.
Those ones who were beaten have not faced the law. Selective application of law, what has happened in the NRM now. You find somebody beating another one by 7,000 votes. That was Wampara district, the woman. And she was the opponent who was defeated by 7,000 votes.
Can I give Professor information?
Was declared the winner.
Professor.
Yes.
We have our colleague, the MP for Ntungamo. He was actually operated in Mbara Hospital as an emergency. His head was split. 3 clots removed. The Honorable Yona Musingus. And he was in coma for 3 days. He was crippled during primary.
So this kind of insecurity, this kind of incivility, this kind of lack of consensus within the ruling party, across the ruling party, within the opposition, because you wait what will happen after Nupo has declared that the so and so has won. You will see also what will happen there. Now, even after the tribunal in NRM, you see what is happening. You see what happened to FDC. They have split. UPC has split. DP has split. So the society is not cohesive. So my concern is national identity. My concern is national cohesion. My concern is national integration. After 40 years of NRM, we thought that the country would now be a functioning state, but also a functioning nation. But I can see we do not have a functioning nation. We are having a failed nation, or a failing nation, and God forbid, we shall not also see a situation where we shall have both a failed nation and a failed state.
Duncan Abigawa, let me allow Ofonopondo to enjoy a few more samosas. Because
Ofonopondo was smiling when UPC was mentioned, but he was smiling in kind prayer.
Oscar, what Professor is doing?
For now, Duncan, I rely on you to say what Ofonopondo cannot say, at least until next week.
Exactly.
Let him first. I will ask him where his candidates are hiding. I saw some have been taken to Arusha.
Oscar, I think what Professor is saying, number one is brewing a storm in a teacup.
When they beat you.
Number two,
you will support somebody and they will beat you.
Number two is it's given a State of the Nation address as the leader of opposition. This is what we'd expect if Honorable Semujunga stood on the floor to speak to the nation. So there is what Professor said. The violence in Kawempe and other places and so forth. Yes, we just had a very heated internal election of NRM, the NRM primaries. 60,000 polling stations in 157 districts and cities. And yes, there was violence, pockets of violence here and there. But it was not. Yes,
Duncan, there was even death.
Yes, but Oscar, you can point at places where violence was, maybe polling stations or districts, and it's going to be maybe 5%. So largely, it was peaceful. Are there disagreements internally in Sembavre? Sechkubo is threatening to leave the party. He's not leaving the party, actually. If he was leaving the party, he would say that he's going to pick forms from Honorable Semuju or Kavuri. But he's saying, I'm coming as an independent, so that when this settles, I can go back home, I can go back to NRM. Because people like Sechkubo, trust me, they have been expelled, they rent courts to be reinstated. They can't leave the party. They know and understand how the party is popular in places where they come from. In places like Ntungamo municipality, Honorable Yona Msingu is an example that Honorable Semuju has raised. Honorable Msingu was beaten because he was the propagator of violence. He formed a militia throughout his campaign, and this is not the first time that he's being beaten, and this is not the first time that he's reading violence in Ntungamo. Ntungamo is largely a peaceful district. I think that's where Professor comes from, by the way. We've never had issues in Ruhama East, in Kazara.
Do you know Ntungamo?
There has been some bit of violence, yes, in Rushenyi, Honorable Kutana, and in the municipality where Yona Msingu has been the propagator of the violence. This time
you know the violence between Ruzindana and Kamwesiga?
This time he received his own violence.
Kamwesiga, the late Kamwesiga. Do you know the altercations between the Karazarwe and Kachoboye? Have you heard about it?
He wasn't yet born. That's how long they've been around.
I have been here. Karazarwe was chairman the other day. I found he was
Prof, let me now give away your microphone to Semuju as you have some chai so that the young man can speak.
But he doesn't allow them to go astray.
No.
Go on.
No, I know Karazarwe. Karazarwe was chairman. I found Honorable Zindana when he was still MP before the first lady came in to repress him. So I know the history of the district. But
you don't know that I have ever stood there.
Yes, but the point I'm making, Oscar, is that Professor here is making a false alarm. Yes, are there issues? Did we have issues in Kawempe and a few other parts of the country? Yes, but can Professor tell us how is the unity of Uganda today vis-a-vis pre-1986? Yes, I think Otieno wants to come in. Otieno knows.
No, not yet.
I'm just shocked.
Yes. My grandfather is there. I keep teasing him that my grandfather, Mzeidugu, who worked for Banyankore Kweta and a cooperative, is still UPC. You have one vote in my village, but it's the only vote you have in my village. Yes. But Professor, if you can tell us the unity of the nation, the functionality of the state today vis-a-vis 1986, I was not there, but I have read history. I understand how the country was divided pre-1986, how the current president had to make sacrifices to make inroads in places like West Nile, which were hostile, to ally with the people who were reading the movements like Moses Ari and so forth, to unite the country. So I think it's a false alarm to claim that the country now is disunited and the state is falling.
Failed the nation. Yes.
He said failed society, but
I don't say failed state.
What Professor is arguing is that the level of disunity, the lack of cohesion, might even lead us to a failed state.
Thank you, Oscar. I just want to say my campaigns of the last 3 months for Member of Parliament, representing older persons, I'm going to represent Professor.
He's going to represent me.
Mango here, 60 and above, coming to a close.
When is your election? Monday?
I've withdrawn from the field. Yes, our accreditation, our delegates are coming tomorrow. We are going to have our elections in Kololo on Monday, inshallah.
NRM primary.
NRM primaries, yes. And so I want to thank all of you, especially Oscar and the gang, for giving me a thumbs up, and all the people on the field. I am surprised that the professor of history.
You seem tired. Even the voice is not coming out very well.
Yeah, man.
Hard work. And the campaigns, hard work.
You go to look for 11 voters
per district.
And sometimes you go to their home and have breakfast with them. It was a good experience. It makes you tired. Yeah. Now, I'm surprised that the professor of history doesn't seem to remember or appreciate, maybe deliberate, because I expect him to know this, about cultural institutions being divided or people clamoring to their own identity. Many of those clamoring today were subjugated by those who thought they were dominant or who saw themselves as dominant. Take the case of Uganda. the Banyana were subjugated, segregated, marginalized.
How?
If you go to the...
It is good you are not campaigning in Buganda.
But even if I was, I would still tell them the same thing. Now, they were coaching the same thing.
No, how?
That's why...
You are making assumptions, so I want to hear. How?
Can aliens who are now submerged in Buganda keep quiet and I give my lesson?
Buganda accommodates everybody, even if...
Yes, I'm saying subjugated.
Yes, how?
You can call it accommodated. The French used the word assimilation, but it was a subjugation. So, and that was compounded by the British colonial administration, forcing people who had been subjugated, who felt that their data was not the same. For 60 years of colonialism, that's what happened. The Uganda state of 1962 did the same thing. Now, when there is a Karemberekezi, there's some freedom that will emerge, that discontent will emerge in form of demanding recognition for their identity, and that's what is happening. That there's, I would say, maybe if they were using unorthodox means, they were using war to reassert themselves, that would be a problem, because then that would mean the state and the society has failed to midwife the disagreement. Secondly, in the political organization, like human life, anything living, for us in political economy and dialectics, we say contradictions are universal. There is no living thing that doesn't have a contradiction. Now,
what is happening in Uganda is not a contradiction. It is polarization.
Listen, polarization.
I'm a student of contradictions.
Polarization is part of contradiction, and I was coming there. What is important is to pay attention to the particularity in the contradiction, so that you don't allow that contradiction to be antagonistic, to be violent, to be irreconcilable. In our case, over the last 40 years, the NRM government under Yoweri Museveni, he has attempted, and in my assessment, 60%, 70%, managed to handle those contradictions, not to become violent, not to become irreconcilable. Yes, people in churches can disagree, and they form their dioceses for different reasons. It could be ethnic, it could be geographical, it could be the size, it could be resources, but as long as they do so within the parameter of their rules. In our case, yes, people are demanding districts, quite often based on ethnicity. But underlying that probably is our faulty formula of sharing the national cake. Because, for example, today, I've just received my Mulanda district. We are now seeing Ochero here now has his own district. 10 kilometers from me, he has his own district.
Was it necessary?
I am now coming to that reason.
I really feel sad.
Yes, the old Toro, which was big, initially Toro extended from Busia to Parisa, Gogonyo on the Lake Choga. When we splitted those entities and we are now 7 districts, we are getting higher financial grants from the central government. That's the faultiness of our budgeting system I'm referring to. We, the people of the district of Mulanda today, now we are going to get our own grant, probably as big as in Piggy, probably as big as Ruwero. So in a sense, there's that underlying, which people rarely state, that when you subdivide places and you create a district,
You get more services.
you'll get, first of all, you'll get more resources. Whether those resources will be applied to the public good is a different matter.
Just splitting
But
what is available. Does the budget
Yes.
become bigger because you are now
well,
40 districts?
Semoju, what was the budget of Uganda in 1986 in 2000 and today.
It does not matter.
Today we have a bigger budget. Take just an example. Currently, the government of Uganda is saying every district, at the very minimum, should have a public district hospital. Let us take it as a given that there's a hospital and there's equipment, there's work, there are workers, there's service. 2, currently the government of Uganda says that every district should have its own road unit. It means that the Toro yesterday that had one road unit, now that Ochieno and Ofono are having their own separate district. I have Mulanda, Ochieno is having his yet to be named. We shall have
Nagongera.
Yeah, we shall have 3 road units. If we, the public officials, supposed to implement policy, we should be able to do those roads better. And so for me, that's where I put it. Now, the contradictions in systems, how do you manage them? In our NRM, yes, we have had perpetually bad internal elections, partly out of failure on entrenching the leaders, we who are running NRM, understanding the core values of NRM or even direction. And so we take contest as life and death. If I lose an election, probably I will die, I will not exist. So we go to the extreme. But how do we manage after we have had those perpetually bad elections? In my view, we have failed to train election workers, we have failed to raise people of good personal conduct, because you find an election official swapping results or even filling results that don't exist. Somebody gets 50 votes, and because an election official has been bought by a candidate, he puts 5 behind the other 5 to make it 550, and so on and so on and so forth. But how do we manage? We have put in system how to manage those contradictions, those conflicts. The tribunal is one of them, consensus building is another, and the reconciliation committees. And by the way, this is not the first time. In all elections we have presided over as NRM, even during the movement, we have had those reconciliation committees at national level, at regional level, at district level. Usually we try to look for eminent, what people call eminent leaders. Some eminent leaders are eminent in the name. They are not eminent in value. So they may try to reconcile and they take sides. Or they don't have the requisite skill to reconcile the different contradictions. And so some of the conflicts continue. And so for me that shouldn't be one. And Professor Mwambuza is doing what we would say is using a thick brush to paint in order to have a narrative that NRM perhaps, like my brother's party, Ochieno UPC, where we used to belong before.
This is the future, yes.
More than 40 years ago, I belonged there. My father was the district chairman of UPC.
Continues to be our national hero, yes.
But you failed to manage the country. We failed to manage the country.
Thanks to the end of the short-circuiting it.
So, for me, the fact that NRM has...
Are those contradictions principled?
There will always be either principled contradiction or unprincipled. Now, and that's why I'm saying you need.
So are these ones principled?
You need different sets of skills, because you are not going to prevent unprincipled contradiction from emerging. What you need is to develop a set of skills to handle different types of contradiction, whether it is ethnic, whether it is political, or financial, economic, or religious.
Yes.
And NRM, in my assessment, has done that very well. That's why, even with what you see as weaknesses, sometimes glaring, majority of Ugandans are still willing to give the NRM an eye, the ear, and the thumb at the back.
Honorable Semuju, if you look at Professor's face here as he's looking at Oponopondo, You can see.
Wasn't Ofono your student?
We were almost contemporary.
But
I was 2 years ahead of him.
But-
and Tanga, and Dr. Tanga.
And they were UPCs.
But I've said so.
They should just come back home.
One of the reasons Mwambusha was not given vote in the CA, by the way.
And I
Yes.
was UPM.
No.
When they were UPCs, I was UPM.
But you see,
That it wasn't
Yes.
UPM enough.
enough. Being UPC isn't a crime. It can only be a crime if you committed. And
It is a crime because UPC committed crimes.
Professor was UPCM.
Dr. Mwamba said, that's why Ofono comes out and say, my father was a very proud UPC chairman. I was the one riding bicycles.
Ofono Pondo.
The clothes, by the way.
Semuju, Ofono Pondo and Professor, they are really saying the same thing, except that Professor says these contradictions are bringing on disunity and lack of cohesion
First of all,
that will take us
And the
in a
virus
worse
we are talking
place.
about, the virus we are talking about. Last year, we saw violence at the epitome of the democracy. A former president running again, being shot.
That's a madness. We can't and we shouldn't use an example here. Trump?
So, Honorable
see,
Semuju, we have let me switch off your microphone. Because
Oscar,
yes. Onyango Obo on X, formerly Twitter, says signs of a declining state and uncompetitive society. The politics of shiny decay and airports without light bulbs. And then continues on a narrative that starts with number one, a celebrity wedding dominates news for days. That happens, I guess, in any society. But if you have seen some of the shots of fans going to Nambole, you would agree that there are signs of decline.
the NRM would be worried, Oscar, if they are disagreeing on the direction of the country. The fights and violence and money that made my brother withdraw, or as he claims, these are people just fighting for survival. The real test that
Lack of
Museveni had,
principle, as Professor says.
yeah, the real fight that Museveni had, in fact, it wasn't even violent. First, in 2001, when Dr. Kizza Besigye authors a lengthy document, must have been about 15 pages, and his complaint was that they had lost direction. Spoke about nepotism, spoke about corruption, and many other things. And he tried Besigye to force a debate within the NRM. Eventually, he nearly got arrested. The rest is history. 2003 coming 2006, you had real NRM disagreeing on whether Museveni should amend the constitution to become a life president. And you had a debate between Museveni and a group that supported him and the Mushegas, the Wapakaburo, the Kategaya, the Muntu, the Matembe, and others. At that time, you had NRM discussing almost contemporaries or leaders at the same level. I was in Chankwanza as a journalist when they were meeting. And because you had almost people of the same equal footing discussing, Museveni was able to adjourn the meeting. He had even promised to set up a committee to do some investigation on the issue of removing the age limit. Of course, he came to Kampala and changed it. You no longer have that. You don't hear debate of that the NRM is not run properly, the country is not run properly. People are just fighting for space, Oscar. Kadaga and Among fighting for space, who should sit next to Museveni. My grandmother, Mariam, died many years ago. When we were children, we were all taken to her home. So when we are having a meal, the traditional Chiganda village meal where you sit together or Rujuriro, we are fighting who should sit next to her. Because sometimes if it is chicken, she can pass over a piece of chicken. until she created a roster that on Saturday it will be Semuju, on Tuesday, and so on and so forth. So that's what Museveni is going to do, just create a roster that Kadaga, you can get this, Among you can get this, and there will be no contradiction. So what should worry us is that as a country, we are no longer discussing the country. Because in NRM, rarely do you have a debate about the performance. At the beginning of this term of office of Museveni, there was a cabinet retreat. Professor Ezra Suruma was one of the people who spoke there. Cabinet retreat to see the performance. That time they had a unity, I've forgotten the name, for which Kasule took over. This Kasule, former MP, the one that you keep bringing here.
Office of the Prime Minister
has you do something.
Manifesto Delivery Unity.
It's something like that. Whose duty is to check on the performance. If you look at all the presentations, Oscar, community access road, the performance was at 14%. I am in Parliament. Government periodically, is it 10 years, 5 years, they have a development plan. Development plan 4 we exited when its performance was 16%, because the time came for it to end, and then we went to now development plan 5. You don't hear that debate in the NRM meetings. All you hear,
or anywhere on the campaign trail.
All you hear, Kadaga is fighting with Amonge, Chigongo is fighting with so and so, and that's what is bothering them. The management and improvement of society is no longer bothering NRM at all, because Museveni cares about staying in power. The others are fighting who sits next to him, because in that sake, what are they going to do there, Oscar? Ask yourself. Is there any serious matter that they have ever pushed? Even when they attempted to have a meeting, you remember here, they are taken long. The last time the NRM SEC had met was the processing of who takes over when Oranya died. Because of disgruntlement, they corrected themselves and sat at Musa Court under Chigongo after, I think, 4 years. Then Museveni heard that they were sitting, he summoned all of them. Said, from today onwards, all SEC meetings will take place in the State House. And it is in a resolution, and they are proud, they saturated it. They will take place here, he will chair, and he said, okay, if I am not here, it will be Chigongo. Is Chigongo a resident in the State House? That you can easily access the chair meeting.
I need to give Honorable Semju some bit of information. Honorable Semju, what does not regularly sit in the NRM is the National Executive Council, which is sitting today, which has district chairpersons and NRM MPs. That doesn't sit regularly, NEC, and the Delegates Conference, of course. But SEC regularly sits, because its functions, among others, includes. You
see, the trouble is that you
includes setting the agenda for the parliamentary caucus.
You're just wasting my time.
Which sits regularly.
A meeting sat. Didn't it sit at Chigonga to Musa Court?
That's true. It sat.
Were they not someone in State House and told never to convene a meeting?
He doesn't know.
No, but Chigongo has been.
Were they not summoned and told never to convene a meeting?
This week on Thursday.
So you are
this week on Thursday. And on
were they not summoned and asked never to convene a meeting?
I agree on his behalf.
This week on Wednesday, the president was in Intungamo. Honorable Chigongo chaired SEC.
Right.
So it is not true that Honorable Chigongo does not chair SEC.
Did he chair it in State House?
Yes, he chaired it in State House.
Okay.
I don't know what.
I'm pleased we have put that to rest.
I don't know what has happened to him. The one we had last time was very inspiring. Today he speaks like a real sycophant.
Thank you. I'm concerned.
What has
there
happened?
are election taking place.
But he was withdrawn.
Have sympathy for the man. He's going to.
So Oscar, for me, that's what is bothering. Even at a parliamentary level, all the institutions of the state, you never have a debate in Parliament on the budget itself. I've told you here, we have passed figures. MPs have not read. The most embarrassing thing, when you are processing this budget of this financial year, and I was telling Parliament there is money to pay Congo, there is money to pay Rocco, the vice chairperson of the budget committee, an NRM person, I was going to use a bad word, thank God it didn't come. He said these things are not there in the budget. And then his colleagues were telling him. So at a parliamentary level, you no longer have people who are discussing the country.
Pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Then we stop for a quick break. And I'll come back from the break. Interesting break. Chris in Kampala says, thanks for hosting, Prof. Nebesa, aka Presentism, as always, is very precise, and his submission was succinctly delivered. Unfortunately, that NRM young man from Tungamo is speaking from an ignorant angle, as the Prof has ably pinned him to the corner. Please, all of you in the studio, be reminded that Somali's state did not fall in just a day or week. Uganda has shown such symptoms. Abigaba is not from Tungamo.
We should be discussing the quality of elections. After the 2011 elections, concerned NRM MPs at that time, including Franca Tumwebaze, Mwenda's sister, Margaret Mohanga, and others, authored a document and demanded that they need to speak about the quality of elections in Uganda. They also demanded to look at the issues of internal democracy within NRM. That debate, Oscar, you no longer have that NRM is discussing the quality of elections. Instead, you will have coached young men like this one saying, but there was violence only in 5%. Really, this was very successful.
But there were 400 cases before
and all of them now on radio stations, not just Capital, wherever they are deployed. This was just a pocket. An MP was nearly killed. For me, it doesn't bother whether he was the one beating, but to have an election in which an MP is sent into a coma for 3 days and doesn't bother you, in which Sechikubo was nearly killed. But thank God, unfortunately, the young man who was standing next to Sechikubo is the one who was shot. That doesn't bother you.
Why are you thanking God then?
For Sechikubo. Because he's my colleague in Parliament, and I am saying unfortunate for the younger man. Yeah.
And then we thank God.
I am thanking God for Sechikubo. They should have killed Sechikubo.
Nathan Nduhukire says, I'm listening from Tungamo municipality. I was there myself when Honorable Yona was accompanied with his goons from Muntiera High School attacked the polling station where Honorable Philip was voting from. It was a fracastic, what a word, shame to my party, NRM.
Yeah, that's what we need to be discussing, not who, because how did we allow? You saw goons in Kampala in Museveni t-shirt. They went crying to police station that these fellows are the ones who ferried us from our homes. Now they are arresting us when they were robbing people, taking their belongings, phones, etc.
They are now called the ghetto structure.
So the quality of the election is a matter that we must discuss collectively as a country. Because today, as Professor said, you can be a beneficiary of the goons and the state and the military, but tomorrow you're going to be a victim. When the same goons of Yona were beating Amama Mbabas, you remember in Ntungamo, instead the president said that Amama Mbabas people had fingered the anus, had put their finger in the anus of a leopard. They are going to see what will happen to them. You remember? That time the goons were being praised because they were pouncing on Mbabazi's supporters. Now the same goons are being deployed internally. The same way you are deploying the military. Because I asked myself, if Kayanja cries that there were 50 drones they have been using to pick children in Kampala, you had the same company. Sechikubo said there were over 40 in my constituency. Because the Joint Anti-Terrorism Force called the JAT, the ones who are in black, are now housed near CMY in Kororo under the full control of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So they can only be deployed the same argument we made earlier about State House. Chigongo cannot go to State House if he has not been told you're going to have a meeting there. You cannot have JAT deployed in Rakai, in Sembabule's constituency, if it is not deployed by Muhoozi Kainerugaba. And for me, Oscar, what is bothering me most, as someone remarked about Somalia, we are going there slowly. I have been a parliamentary reporter before I became an MP. There has never been an incident where Parliament summons a CDF and he says, instead I will come and arrest you, and the following day the speaker is apologizing.
And how did he call you?
He said, these crowns, he said, I will come and arrest you. In the last Parliament, I am one of those who demanded that Museveni's wife, since she's a minister, must come to Parliament. And Kadaka said she must come, and she came. But today, for 5 years, Janet Kataha appointed the Minister for Education. Her responsibility every year is to present a budget for her ministry. She has never stepped in the parliament. She keeps sending Muyungo. I asked Muyungo, why are these fellows turning you into an office messenger? A man respected in Uganda, and you have become an office messenger from Museveni's wife. Because he has a duty under the constitution as a minister to account parliament. That's why parliament vets you. The son doesn't come to account, the mother doesn't come to account, at least the father will regularly call MPs. So the structure, the state has completely collapsed. I disagree with the professor who thinks the state is still there. There is no state. You have a family that is ruling us on Uganda point. They can claim, they can pretend. Because, I mean, which sort of state if parliament is dysfunction? If the judiciary is dysfunction, the military has become private, they will take it where they want it. And they can arrest someone. And the UPCs. They can arrest someone, corroborate him, and the CDF says I was teaching him Runyankole, and the following day the man is produced in court limping, and business goes on, and this young man says, no, this was a pocket of violence, 5%. Wait, when that 5% it will be you will know that statistics only.
He has been given extra charges, I'm told.
Extra charges for doing what?
There are further charges in Masaka court.
No. Edmutoya and group, as they are about to be given a bail in Masaka, they were driven to Kawembe, and this time charged under a colonial provision in the law of drilling these military drills that they were involved in military drills. So so if they want you to be in court, I was in court here when Dr. Besige was brought. And I told my colleagues in PFF that there are all signs that even if Besige is granted bail, he will be rearrested. Because the SFC had surrounded court. So that's where we are. The professor, I disagree with him. He thinks the state is there. We are under military family rule.
Nora Oraga also disagrees with professors as a cultural anthropologist. It is painful to listen to the submission which asserts that there can be a failing society and a functional state. Fact, a state cannot exist without a society because a state is defined by its relationship to people and their organized communities, requiring a permanent population and a government to exercise power and provide services for that society.
But upside South Africa was not a failed state, but it was a failed society.
There was no state.
There was a state.
Joseph,
you are the white gang.
Joseph Otieno, you are on microphone.
No, thank you. It's a scary moment, this country where we are today. When my elder Olaro Tunu came in onto the platform of national politics a decade or so ago, he, I think with the colleagues around Ibrahim, and I think Samuji would have been around some of those spaces, I was away a distance a bit, he called it a systematic breakdown. Systematic breakdown will embody what Nora and others are saying, that it's a total fracture of the nation state, whatever you call it. And I think why some people might be disagreeing with Ndebesa, perhaps not in principle, but in terms of emphasis, is the fact that even the ruling household has got fractures. So from such, and within that context, for me, I'll add one thing, that Uganda today is undergoing a perfect systematic breakdown. And that's why, Duncan, it's in your absolute interest, because you're the youngest in this panel, to get delivered and take note seriously that if you're to have a future and attain my age, we need a total overhaul, and very, very soon. A systematic breakdown in which institution and institutionalism don't mean anything. Constitution and constitutionalism broadly don't mean anything. Rule of law is neither here nor there. Even when you talk about the question of unity of Uganda, I sit, and I've been sitting opposite my brother Fonopondo. The other day, the first time I was voting, we were one constituency. Now we are going to be 4 different districts. And Ofono proudly suggests that comes with a hospital from the division of Tororo, I don't know any other new hospital in the entirety of Bukedi that has been around in the last 40 years, except those that UPC built. In fact, when Mulanda Hospital is established, the would-be hospital would be equivalent of a health center 2, we used to call it dispensaries, that UPC built in the 60s. In the entirety of that district, it would be a health center 2 equivalent. Now I think they upgraded to 3, basically giving it a name to make it of import. Extraordinarily, if it's not an institutional breakdown, one of the most recent things happening in our Kampala here, at our Kampala, is Nachivubo Channel. As a high school student in Kampala, one of the first few places you'd go to look for average cheap shops, shoes coming from my Kamocha slums. I've lived in the ghetto, as a high school student, is to go via Nachivubo and go via Owino. Now, Mr. President grants Nachivubo, and proudly does so to a Kampala businessman. What is the role of the president? Where is the local city council? What discussion took place in the city authority? What and who does planning permission? Which part of Kampala were consulted? I've worked in local government, failed as a senior officer elsewhere. Who? And what is the role of the minister for Kampala, if anything? What about the national planners? I can go on and on and on. Ibrahim was talking about planning programs where in every nation state you come up with the 10-year development plans and programs. That is absolutely true. And at the end of that program, your performance is 16%, and it's business as usual. Where are the rest?
There's an Andrew here who's giving Semuju, says, please update Honorable Semuju that the current National Development Plan is NDP 4. 25, 29, 30, not NDP 5.
Yeah.
The NDP 4 goal is to achieve higher household incomes, full economic monetization, and employment for sustainable socio-economic transformation. We're not yet at 5.
So you see, regardless even if we're actually at 3, it is still that terribly bad that the answer to Nachivubu will not come in. What kind of national conversation have we had? The Ibrahim Semuju is discussing this in Parliament. What about established political parties? And that's where you are right, that UPC and others need to make sure that they sort it out, their houses in order, put the houses in order very urgently and very quickly. Because these are national debates that should take place across the political divide, including political parties. These are policy positions. These are manifesto positions. Mr. Museveni ought to take this, Duncan, to the delegates conference and say that a future NRA administration, a future post-failed NRA administration would consider giving Nachivubo to some businessman. Granted, it's harm, not penalty. But look, what we discuss at national debates is, national conversations at this particular time would be the budgets. Ibrahim, you and I know that we rarely do that, Oscar. National priorities. Today, there is some new thing in town, that the NRA regime has decided, I'm told, to give some slot of Ugandan space for U.S. refugees. I'm a forced migration scholar. Surely, and we're not having a conversation, surely no political parties, surely Parliament has not discussed that, surely the contradictions that Ofonopon is talking about, which is compelling us to have districts at county levels, we're not having that, and we're having refugees from the U.S. under what arrangement? So total systematic failure, you can take it from church, take it to communities, and take it to homes. To the extent that today I should be in Tororo to attend a funeral of a young lady who died, Professor, being jumped on from Bale Hospital to Tororo to a private health facility to Busolwe, and dies an avoidable death. To the extent, Oscar, that the other day a young journalist that young man is fantastic. He was interviewing me 2 days ago. But he was interviewing me when his sister had just died, giving birth in Entebbe. This is still extraordinary. I was taken aback quite much. Partly commitment to his journalism, but guess what? He was also telling me that unless he did that, there's implications in his job. So this country's citizens have been left alone, and they're on their own. How are we able to turn around Uganda post this NRA, Oscar? It will mean that all of us as individuals, because it's a holistic breakdown, meaning that families don't respect and families don't trust families. That is the culture at the helm of Mr. Museveni. So I think we need to be able to regroup, to begin to respect families, respect our domestic institutions, respect our local cultures, respect, if you're in political parties, our constitutions and systems, and then be able to walk down the streets and also respect that there are people walking side by side with us. That requires leadership. That leadership is going to come up from the likes of the Duncans. It's urgent that we begin to have a conversation post really where we are today, a conversation of the future. That's why UPC is extremely relevant in terms of our values, but how we're able to make sure that the young people listening and the young people out there who are not listening are able to buy into this possibility of a Uganda that Duncan did not see. Uganda of your grandfather was a fantastic Uganda that lived together in diversity. That Uganda is possible for tomorrow.
There's Chris Mkwasibwe on X tells you that Ambassador Olarotono called it comprehensive brokenness, not systematic breakdown.
Thank you, Chris. So you were in the form, Chris.
I'm looking for an, I think, yes, Jonah Chaze Nkwangu on X says, Abigaba agudde mu kawunyemu wa Semoju ne Prof Ndebesa. His silent signals is now into consolation by Star Cafe samosas. Thanks for the show. So, Duncan, defend yourself.
Thank you, Oscar.
Before Prof closes the subject.
Absolutely. Let me start with my senior brother here, Otieno, who is advising me that we must fix this country if I am going to live as long as he has lived.
And it was the reason why he wanted to go to SEC.
Absolutely. We all want to see a better country, especially for our children and those who will come after them.
But
so we must fix
Duncan.
We must fix the state.
I want to thank him. He's not like a Sechikubu. He's very happy after he was forced out. Another person would be angry, but he was very happy, so I thank him.
No, he says he's still continuing the fight.
Absolutely.
As Otieno has said, he believes that the future is his, so he must clean up.
It is the nature of politics. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And you also must know your strengths and weaknesses so that you find a stable ground. Otherwise, you can crash. So, my senior brother Otieno has lived probably for 60 years or so. And most of that has been, of course, under the NRM. Yes,
very sadly.
He was. He can say he was abroad in forced exile. Because since he came back, nobody has touched him. He's aspiring for leadership. He stood for member of parliament, and successfully he's attempting to wrestle the UPC party from Jimmy Akena and so forth. So you can see that by and large, the environment is not as bad as Otieno would want to portray it. You can still come back from exile with the resources that you could have accumulated from exile, establish your life in Uganda, prosper, go into leadership, do other things. Otieno is doing that. Honorable Semju has dismissed what the NRM has done under NDP3 and others and
assessment themselves.
16%. I have read some of those documents from the I think NPA. The NPA is responsible for developing the national development plan. But Honorable Semju, if we are going to look at your constituency here alone in Ichira, when we were under NDP3 and when we were under NDP2, now we've just crossed over into NDP4 from 2025. So since you became MP, we've moved, I think, from NDP to NDP3. Honestly, if you look at Chira, where I live, where Oscar and I live, yes, are there challenges? We have issues of the
that
road.
One is my village.
Yes, your village?
Yes.
Your ancestral village. Yes. Are there challenges? Yes, there are challenges. There are challenges. But Honorable Semju, did that road from Nakwero to Chorogoma, for example, exist under the previous NDPs, a new brand road? It did not exist. Did the road...
The potholes in Nakwero.
Broken down.
You guys.
The road from Chorogoma to I think Suru, Chimwanya, and other places. It did not exist.
But
it is there.
If you can allow me to
The health,
Duncan,
the health center for
if you can
at Chira, which has been going undergoing expansion, it did not exist. It is now there.
Yeah, but you see that's
look at what is happening from Charwajara to Kasangati to Matuga. Expansion of that road, including building of a flyover and so forth, it did not exist. So you can see that yes, challenges exist, but there has been some development. Yes.
Can I ask you one thing, if you don't mind? I was in Khartoum. There was a Kenyan senator who was speaking to us. He told us at the time of independence, the only city in Europe that was rivaling Khartoum was London. He said this Khartoum was better than all these Brussels.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
All of it is down. I don't know why you should celebrate smaller things. This should be for ordinary people.
All of it
because of the failure to deal with the structural issues that put together a state. Everything is down.
There have been gains.
Moses Biarhang also responds to Semuju here. Says, in respect to those who are involved in violence and other criminal acts in the NRM primaries, many have been arrested and criminal investigations are still going on. This is to ensure the NRM leadership doesn't condone criminality. In some cases, administrative action has been taken against NRM registrars.
He did tell us what happened to the soldier Sechikubo complained that shot that person and killed him, and even gave the name and rank. So can Moses help us to understand what happened to that soldier?
And those who also did Tinkan Sabiri, the MP who kidnapped him, yes.
Those who were beating him
that has not
and
been
teaching him
the kidnap of Honorable Tinka Simiri has not been verified. Honorable Semuju here is a politician, and honestly speaking, politicians, especially in the reading to the eve of voting and so forth, they deploy different tricks.
Oh, so they create their own gangs.
So that was
nobody has verified Tinka
comprehensive breakdown.
Nobody has verified Tinka Simiri's abduction.
It was on TV.
What are you suggesting?
There was a young man. There was a young man on TV openly saying that here in Kampala that we belong to the ghetto structure and we are part of the security, and I think those are the ones who disrupted Narcora's Kawempe North by elections. What is government doing about creating militias attached to security forces? Let's see how the young man will answer it when he's a very young man accepted on TV.
Benson being escorted by police.
Moses, we are waiting. Yes.
Yes. Professor, I'm coming. I was still responding to Oscar. Who was I used? I don't know.
You can answer mine later.
I was still responding to Honorable Semuju. I just used his constituents as a case study. But yes, there have there been bigger things that have been done in the last couple of years. Yes, Honorable Semuju here sits in Parliament. He reads the reports. He knows how our electricity has expanded, how our road network has expanded. I will not go into those statistics, but he knows. So some work has been done. You agree?
It is true. There is no government in Uganda that has done zero. Every government has done some work. I would be stupid to come here and say Museveni has done nothing.
So just to bring you back on and I have Nora was saying, why don't you just legislate that every place should have a hospital instead of fake ambulances by MPs? But the question at hand, Duncan, that you are moving away from for today's cohesion, do we have a failed society? Do we have disunity? And this, according to Professor, it's promoted by your party, the disunity. And Semuju is saying everyone is on his own.
No. You see, to reinforce what Ofono Pondo said earlier, some of this balkanization we might see. Professor is here, is a professor of history, is a professor of political science. It is not disuniting the country. It is, in some cases, giving a voice to the voiceless.
By beating them.
Take an example of what he... not by beating them. Ofonopondo comprehensive addressed issues of district balkanization, cultural institutions. Yes, in Ankole, we have said we are okay with the current arrangement.
And then you dump in on the rest of the Uganda,
Family
cultural institutions.
The rest, it's a complicated debate. I won't manage it, so that's why I don't want to go there. But there are places where I would say, Professor is here, like the Rwenzori area, that Wamba, even Bakonjo, came up and said they wanted a voice, and that's why their cultural institutions were restored. I will not go there. It's a very complex topic.
But you're going there and you are saying you don't want to go there.
So, Professor, to come to you, firstly, to reinforce what Moses said on the issue of the primaries and what has been done. Yes, Professor said there were 480 petitions. It is true. But most of them were not on grounds of violence. Most of them were on grounds of what O talked about earlier, the issue of compromising the returning officers, the NRM registrars, to switch results. That was very common. That accounted probably for 70% of the petitions. And yes, must it be condemned? It must be condemned in the strongest terms.
Once again, Duncan, you're moving away from the question. The question is, having over 400 petitions, is it not a case of disunity? Is it not a case of lack of cohesion?
And consensus.
It is not a case of lack of cohesion or unity. No. It is...
Because the way it is,
most of the issues...
people do not like each other in your party.
Yes. Most of the issues, Oscar, most of the petitions arose from administrative errors. They arose from administrative errors. This is what OO was talking about earlier. The switching of results in some constituencies, elections did not happen in certain areas. You find a certain parish, elections did not happen for reason ABC in a certain sub-county, and mostly those were the grounds that where petitions were built. If you verify those petitions, Oscar,
I thought after this process you'll have no job in NRM, but yeah, now you have it.
He's rehabilitated himself. Very well.
Let's stop for a break. We'll come back from the break. Duncan was the only one NRM person in the studio. Now Fonopondo has returned, and Honorable Semuju, just repeat that comment you told him. What does in English though? What should he now notice about vote seeking?
I mean, Ofono, I have never seen him unsettled. That even after 5 minutes, he's on the phone running from the studio. So I was only telling him that you go through that. So, and by the way, I am very happy that Ofono Pondo is participating. First of all, I said, and I want to repeat, he will be a very good value addition to Parliament. NRM has fake people who can't, who don't even know where they are. So Fonopono will be a good value. Only if they can.
And when they clobber him on the campaign trail?
I don't think they will clobber which trail?
Which he has to campaign. He's just finished NRM.
So, but I am happy to see him
hustling.
Yeah, it's an experience he has avoided for 40 years.
So Duncan, your final sentence.
And the support.
Final sentence, Duncan. Knowing that people are just murdering you on social media. Duncan,
I know. I had told Fort when my elder was out. So we did not agree. We did not agree with Semuju like we've been agreeing in the past. And this is politics. I was a candidate. I was asked by the elders to step down. I have remained an NRM, and so to a large extent, I must toe the NRM line. Yes. Do we have our own contradictions? We do. OO has talked about some. I was concluding on the issue of the petitions. We had so many of them, but very few of them are hinged on violence. Most are hinged on administrative errors, switching results, voting not taking place in some in some locations, etc. That's where most of the petitions were built.
Okay.
But you see, since the conclusion of the work by the tribunal, most of the people have accepted the rulings of the tribunal. It is only Honorable Sechkubo and maybe one or two people who have said they are going to run as independent. But most of the people have accepted to go back in the fold.
Let's wait and see. Final conclusion, final word on this topic, Professor.
Thank you. You will conclude.
I hope it will be final word.
I will conclude like this. Some people here.
See, before you conclude, Professor, you also no longer adding value as Makerere. Most of the debates on national issues used to take place in Makerere. We would go and listen to professors. What happened to you before you complain against the others?
The Vice Chancellor doesn't like those things. Now it is an academic
What happened to me or what happened to Makerere, I don't know. Me, I am here contributing to national debate and I am no longer in Makerere. I retired. However, I wanted to say this, that I have heard people talk about NDP4 and their priorities. I think somebody mentioned the priorities. I would want, if they are listening to me, that in NDP 5, one of the priorities should be fostering national identity. Because if we don't foster national cohesion, national integration, national unity, all those developments we are talking about will come to nil. Related to that, we need to know how to manage diversity based on principled stands. And we manage diversity and not mismanage diversity and demilitarize political competition. My colleague here has just challenged Otieno there that he went in self-exile, he came back, he let him stand now and see whether he will be arrested. I can assure you he'll be arrested. There is a pattern, there is a history. Chiza Besigye tried to stand, he was arrested. Amama Mbabazi was arrested. Chapa Karhanga was arrested. Tumukunde was arrested. Chaguranyi was arrested. And many others have been arrested. So it is almost a truism that when you stand as a presidential candidate under the current regime, you will be arrested. So I don't see how Otieno will survive being arrested. Now, following that historical trend and trajectory and pattern, we need to reverse it. Because if we don't reverse it and create more anger, you see, when you practice selective application of justice, you arrest others when they have committed an offense, and you don't arrest others who have committed a similar offense, you create anger. And that anger keeps on brewing until it blows off. The young man here, I wanted to challenge him. I don't know, he said he sometimes reads history, that there was a country called Yugoslavia under Marshal Tito. And he controlled that state for more than 30 years. And Yugoslavia was one of the countries in Eastern Europe then, which was a strong state. The day he died, Yugoslavia disintegrated into 5 states. That means,
after many wars,
that means there was an appearance of a stability of a state because of the skills maybe of Marshal Tito of Yugoslavia. But
why go to Yugoslavia? There's Sudan here.
Even Sudan, Bashir was there for 30 years.
Yeah.
So, and even Siad Barre was there for 20 years in Somalia, and even Mobutu was there in Congo for 30 years, and even Gaddafi was there for 40 years, and there was an appearance of stability in Libya. What we are saying now is that we need to have a concerted, a conscious effort to foster national identity and avoid this unprincipled polarization. Short of that, relying on Museveni as somebody who has kept the country united for the last 40 years, there is no guarantee that when he's out, the country will not disintegrate. Yeah. This is a debate we should have we build institutions so that we rely on strong institutions, not a strong man. Because Gaddafi was a strong man, Saddam Hussein was a strong man, Marshal Tito was a strong man, Mobutu was a strong man, Siad Barre was a strong man, Habyarimana was a strong man.
Yeah.
Where are those countries now?
Professor, don't use
The
examples.
the-
In Angola, Dos Santos was there, I think, for 30-something years. He ended one of the most brutal wars in Africa, Angola versus UNITA rebels, which was a war for like 30 years. He ended it.
Do you know where
he
do
peacefully-
you know where he's buried?
He peacefully transferred power.
Listen,
And Angola,
can you answer that?
Angola has not disintegrated.
Can you answer that? Do you know where he is?
No, Angola peacefully
The man is buried.
transferred power.
Yeah,
Angola
yeah.
peacefully transferred power from the Santos to Lourenço. Peacefully.
Peacefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And you
Professor,
think,
I was just going to say, I want us to leave this for today and we go to easier
so,
topics.
but I will
But
conclude
just-
by saying that the national
I thought you had
question,
concluded.
the national question
Yeah.
is much more important than
It
these
is.
other questions we are debating.
I agree as well. And just to point out
When you go for the
to
national
confirm
TV,
your
Duncan will be in
professor,
the gallery.
to confirm your arguments today, Ofanopondo's shirt, this is the first time I've seen in a deep yellow shirt.
Many times.
This deep yellow. Sometimes it's faded yellow.
No,
so-
I think, Oscar, because of age, you are my age. I think you are becoming colorblind, and therefore we
He
should,
has had a
we should transfer
where
you.
they have those meetings.
Yes, we should transfer you
He
to
has become an
PWD.
easy-
Oscar, we should transfer Oscar to PWD. Becoming blind, that doesn't matter.
This is a deep yellow shirt.
He has been putting on those shirts.
Anyway, let us go to easier
I
topics.
haven't been coming here in my deep yellow overall.
Yes.
Overall, yes.
But
Okay.
I try to do this
So,
mainly during the campaigns.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
NRM
NRM
season.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, when it is not.
okay, at least there's purpose to your deep yellow.
I'm not like.
But let me start with Duncan Avigaba.
I'm not like Ochieno who sings UPC.
Someone here said,
even when UPC doesn't give him votes.
Dr. Tuape says, I agree with Professor Ndebesya. A society can experience collapse or dysfunction while the concept of a formal state persists as a fictional entity.
True.
But
The
for now,
Soviet,
Duncan,
the Soviet Union was strong. Where is it?
well, he's
It
trying to make it
disintegrated.
strong again. Duncan, we go to easier topics like Chan. That one, you'll be able to speak freely.
Yes.
You can now speak.
And this is what Onyango Boy is saying. When a state, Duncan, Onyango Boy is saying when a state is failing, people prefer to talk about football and so on because they are easier, and weddings because they are easier topics to talk
No,
about.
but in Britain they talk so much about football.
Sure.
Is Britain is the state and society?
Some of the British people are saying it is.
Oscar.
No, it is also disintegrating
Yes.
between the English, the
Oscar, it
Scottish,
is-
the Welsh, and the Irish.
Oscar, it is.
And the far right.
Yeah, and the far right.
Now, Duncan, you're on microphone.
Yes, sports, football. This is actually what unites the country. When we are having all these contradictions we are having on this table and so forth, it is things like sports that bring us together. Yes, yesterday.
National friends, you go to the local clubs and you will see how they fight each other.
Hold on, Prof. You are going to have yours.
Yesterday in Nairobi, you know, the political temperatures in Nairobi have been very high. But yesterday, the deputy president and the person he succeeded, Gath Gachagua, with whom they have been exchanging very heavy words for a long time, we are together in the same lounge watching Harambee Stars. Unfortunately, they were knocked out. So that's what football does. It brings political forces together, builds cohesion. So Kenya yesterday was knocked out by Madagascar. Tanzania was knocked out yesterday also by Morocco. So Uganda is playing today
for East Africa.
And we are now the ones carrying the regional flag.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been 3 hosts under the Pamoja umbrella. So we have to really go to Nambore and push the boys so that they can move into the next stage. Because if we are all knocked out as a region at once, yet we are the hosts. I don't think it's good for football.
Yeah. And
Yes, by NRM standards, we have done well. And Honorable Semju, no.
And the Minister for Sports is First Lady Janet Museveni. She's the one making.
she has attended football matches.
Yes. She's making
She may
us-
not come to Parliament, but she goes to
She's
football.
making us achieve.
Among other achievements of the NRM in Honorable Semju's constituency, among other achievements of NRM in Honorable Semju's constituency, is that Nambore is now a world standard stadium, able to host CHAN, able to host the African Cup of Nations coming.
So
Among other people who should be with the first lady in the VIP lounge is the Honorable Semju to cheer up the boys, because that is your constituency.
the Duncan, another Mugisha Moses says maybe the SEC meeting was held to remind at Duncan Abigaba that he's NRM because his tongue has taken a sharp twist these days. So Pono, good that we have football.
Well,
These are lighter matters now, please.
Well, I'm like General Trafiro who says, don't ask him about asshole.
This is a morning show,
He
so
says,
let's just have better. Yeah.
I say no.
Yes.
That's what Trafiro says. He says,
Well,
don't ask me about asshole. I don't know why. Generally, I'm not a football.
Right.
I do athletics. I used to run in my career there. I was doing long distance races. I even went to Zaire for the marathon for university. Yes.
But you wish Uganda well.
I wish them well, and I just want to remind the Honorable Simon and the people who say we haven't. You see, that Nambole was conceived by the EPC government in 1964 when the late Kalema was the Minister for Culture. Yes, we could not construct a Nambole from 1964 until
give us a donation.
no. At that time actually Chinese gave the donation. It was just the Chinese that offered the donation to the Uganda government in 1964. But because our UPC government then couldn't run the state, Nambole remained in abeyance until Museveni came in 1990, and then NRM under Museveni resurrected it, completed it. We have recently rebuilt it.
And I mean, Ofono,
So,
we don't need prayers. We prayed in the final.
Well, I'm just telling
Joseph,
you a fact
Yep.
about
on
Nambole.
Uganda Cranes,
You know, Ofono Pondo, I know you're a candidate. Don't play Duncan. One of the reasons why I support your candidate is that when it comes to major issues, you're extremely objective. On the question of Nambole, I thought you were going to hail us. Indeed, this is a project that should have really started in 1987, and that's officially the case, by the way. It was already in progress. It was basically interrupted in Ubuntu 1, thanks to dictators and gunmen who shortcut business, and in Ubuntu 2, thanks to gunmen who shortcut things. So Nambole was for 1987, for information. And not only was it Nambole, it was Nambole, no, 1987, on our program, a 10-year program. Bugembe, dead. Bugembe, dead. Mbale, dead. Gulu, dead. Arua, dead. Barara, dead. And one other in Western Uganda, I'm not quite sure it was Hoima or wherever. No, we had programs for national stadia across. Now, for Ofono to say that reminds me of the fact that
I think Hoima is coming up.
the Hoima is coming out thanks to a bit of mini oil or something like that. Really. For Ofono to talk about that, when while you were
Kipua in the is up, Hoima is up, Kabari is going up.
I was with Museveni unusually.
NRM does things methodically, systematically, and that's why we succeed.
I was with Museveni. Oscar. Don't bring it. It was.
Yeah, go on.
I was with Museveni and Ruto unusually around the same platform in Siaya. The tiny little Siaya town that you don't hear about has got a stadium better than that of the Kibua program being said. And when I was living there with our delegation coming back, I was feeling really, really traumatized. How dumb can it be that a nation state that cannot actually construct a stadium simply because of Nambole that has been completed, a program that we did and resourcing that we had obtained, thanks to what Ofono says, confirms that it was us, except that they interrupted it. But look, an NRA regime, Ofono,
because it was then also in UPC.
Museveni was very briefly in UPC, but went when it became such a terrible guy in the bush. But look,
I'm waiting for Semuju and Prof to talk about Chan and Uganda having.
Do you know, Oscar, if you don't mind? That is actually in part true, but unfortunately, it's an occupied state now. Look. NRA cannot talk about sport simply because of an accidental victory when they've sold all the football pitches. I was telling you the other day that I was playing for our national schooling team at the time because sports was an inherent part of our national programs in schools, in colleges, in communities. Now it is partially dead. We are celebrating it at the national level, but we know how difficult it is in Moland, how difficult it is in Toro. Our little tennis stadium in Toro now has been sold off, and I think we should be investigating whatever's happening down there. So,
sold by who?
So look. While Oscar, we hail the boys. You know that Uganda does not. In UPC, we don't tell us.
That one we can admit, but it's not sold.
Dilapidated, but not sold.
No, not sold.
Okay,
dilapidated, sold, we shall know soon.
We shall know soon. But no, we should celebrate the boys.
Yeah.
But we should also remember that there were controversies about their welfare, the well-beings, and the fact that if we are to build for the Duncans of the future, we must invest in grassroots sporting. And as I said, the future UPC government, we shall take away sports from education. The minister who can't go to parliament, to culture and community development as it used to be, so that we invest holistically in sports, and make sure that it's part of the future.
Someone, Danish says, has a lack of cohesion in the studios. Bad ladies to come to the studio. But as for Ofono, whenever he gets opportunity, he hits at Buganda Kingdom. That is at Danish on Twitter.
What's wrong with hitting Buganda Kingdom if there are also players in the public arena?
You have not yet got your vote, Ofono, so speak with care.
First of all,
Buganda, by the way.
I am happy.
We even gave you a wife from Buganda.
I am happy we are going.
Even your mother.
Yes, Wakasimba.
So we may start extracting.
And my paternal grandpa was a Muluka chief.
So those are the quotes you need to be mentioning mostly.
They're the ones who
less UPC, please.
The 1,000 square miles.
Even in his village of Fono, church services are still conducted in Uganda.
Wow.
So we've given you many things, including our language.
Did you celebrate the first Uganda loss as claimed on social media?
There are many people. Oscar, you know that I don't operate any social media platform. I don't.
Parody account.
But people, I think the Ofono Pondos have opened multiple accounts to misrepresent me. I want the Uganda Cranes to succeed, and I wish them well. The only problem I have as a neighbor to that facility is the security inconvenience. And when Museveni's wife is going to watch the game, it is worse. So they close all the roads. The other day I told you I reached home. I left my car at the church in Weyogerere, walked part of the distance because even the borders were not allowed to operate, and then picked a border after. So when she is there, the only activity I have seen her full commitment, and I thank her, because in the parliament she's supposed to bring a policy every year and budget, she never shows up. But I have seen her hold up in a corner in Nambole, and I thank her for at least finding time to
say.
Thank her for finding time to go.
For finding time to go. And
the ones who say the honorable Samujis are the ones who say we should allow institutions, not individuals, to work. You don't have to see the first lady, the Minister of Education, physically there as long as the system works.
But she has been going.
Yes. So please.
You're taking away his
let
time.
the system
So
work.
that's where you go wrong. I'm talking about the Minister for Education under the Constitution. That minister is supposed to come and present a budget and policy.
We are on Chan now.
The son was invited by the committee. Said
Honorable
you crowds will come and
final
arrest you.
sentences, we wish them luck.
So I am happy that the very busy minister for education, who also happens to be Museveni's wife, has found time to go and support the team.
Yeah.
The trouble we today we play Senegal. Senegal is the defending champions. I was in Algeria when they were beating Algeria at home. So we are going to play maybe the strongest opponent so far. But if our team can settle, because last time the mistakes they were making in defense, to me they appeared like they were playing under a lot of pressure. A team at home that wants to progress to the stage they have never progressed to. Maybe the pressure today is going to be even higher, especially with the Kenya out.
The target was to, for the first time, get out of the group stages. That has been achieved.
Yeah.
So I think maybe let's play Senegal with ease.
I am praying it is not possible, because you see now with Kenya out and Tanzania,
Yeah.
you are at home.
Yeah.
And they have put money. I hope they can calm them down, because I saw the talent there, but there was a lot of panic
Professor?
and pressure.
Conclusion. So have we gone to football under protest? You've seen all these shots with not very nice words.
What are the words?
Thank
they're
you.
not for radio.
Yeah, on soccer, one of the definitions of a nation is that it is a community of sentiments. A large community of sentiments in a certain designated territory. So, I think soccer is one of those elements instrumentally which creates some national identity in Uganda. I agree with him. I wish we could have more of these channels here so that at least it contributes to fostering national identity. I think football and Namugongo Matters Day are the only two events in Uganda where all Ugandans are united as one, as a nation. And football can also, by the way, contribute to national development, economic development, in the sense that it reduces on these lifestyle diseases. If we could promote soccer throughout the country and all people participate. And three, if the FIFA can always make sure that they recruit throughout the country, so that we have got a presence, a representation of the whole country in our national football club.
Football is never, you have to go for the best, not a meritocracy.
No, but there is talent throughout the country.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we should recruit according to the tribe.
Yeah.
But maybe I said it badly.
Okay.
That we should have more facilities and capacity identification throughout the country, because we have seen that football, soccer, besides entertaining, it can also be an instrument for national unity, can also be an instrument for health improvement, can also be an instrument for economic development.
Sports is merit oriented. That's why you never see any M7 family member in our club.
I'm not disputing
I
that
thought
one.
I'd taken the microphone away from you. Now
I'm not disputing that.
No, I'm not attacking. I'm just giving Professor information that this is merit oriented. That's why no Museveni.
But as I finish, I wish our boys well, because they are not representing themselves only, they are also representing the country. Please,
Duncan, the people are saying maybe your mentor is Moses Biaruhanga. He's mentoring you. And says having these petitions is a sign of democracy, that an aspirant who participated in the primaries can be heard. It is not a sign of disunity. There was another comment here, but I cannot find. Thank you so much, the listeners of the Capitalgang. Thank you, Ofonopondo. Good to see you back, and good luck. I guess we shall know. Pardon, you wish?
I wish Ofonopondo well in his NRM elections. I actually
First time
think,
you're
and I am
supporting an
genuine,
candidate.
that Ofonopondo will be a value addition to Parliament.
Yes.
I hope
So,
NRM people
Thank
see
you.
that.
Thank you,
I just
Professor
want to say,
Ndewesa.
Our delegates are converging tomorrow at ICT
Yeah.
Nakawa.
Thank you,
for
thank you.
accreditation. Please come.
Thank you,
Come
all
and-
the
come and
gangsters.
look at Kuyege
Thank you,
family.
listeners. Continue on our social platforms, social media platforms. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and I'll see you next week. We have DJ Nyowe coming up. The rough cuts, I'm told.